Okay, how about we all make a note together? Just one note. I'll start it off, and then you just join in. I'll do a little overtoning, and if you can overtone, you overtone too, and if you can't, we'll just make the note. We're all just going to make some noise together for just a moment as we're setting up for our first speaker for the EP portion, okay? Those guys do that. Sweet, thank you guys. Awesome. All right, so our first presenter, I think, is taking a bathroom break, so he'll be here in just a minute. But oh, there he is. Let's just read through the wonderful titles that we have for you this evening. Preston Temple, who will be our first presenter here, is going to be speaking on the future of psychedelic drug development. Now, for those of you who were here last year, you all remember Tom Ray? Yeah. Okay, Preston works with Tom. He's going to be sharing kind of some more extrapolations and some more related to Tom's work. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be followed by Willem, or William, depending on whether you're speaking Welsh or not. And he's going to be speaking on Fitzhugh Ludlow, hashish as the psychedelic within the transcendentalist movement. And when Justin Pennick submitted for this year, I mean, I honestly have to tell you, Justin, I didn't even read it. I just like, absolutely. So if you got Justin's, what was the name of your talk last year? What was it? No idea. I don't even know it. But his talk this year is Neuro, Psycho, and Theohacking, Psychonautic Engineering, Healing Hacks for Optimal Living in the Postmodern Era. And if you think you understand that, you'll probably change your mind by the time he finishes his talk, but last year it was one of the most glorious things I've ever seen. Was it like a monkey riding a orca shooting rainbows? Or I don't even know what it was. And then we're going to finish with Brad Adams, Infusions and the Wheel of Life, how plant medicines may help save us from ourselves. So let's go ahead and let's welcome Preston Temple on up to the 1 second on stage. Rock and roll.
All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I'm very excited to give this talk. We're going to talk about the future of psychedelic drug development. In order to do that effectively, I want to go a little bit into the past and talk about how we got here. So, in the past, we originally had plants and fungus. That was our first psychedelic. Amanita muscaria, marijuana, psilocybin cubensis, iboga, etc. Then someone figured out that if you combine them, sometimes they're even better. So we have things like ayahuasca, which is the most notable kind of plant concoction, and there are many, many others that have been lost over time, their recipes. But if you talk to Tom, where's Tom? Is Tom in here? Tom? Okay, he'll be back. Well, he wrote an interesting book that mentions many of the recipes, the forgotten recipes of plant psychedelics. So then we move on to simple plant extracts such as DMT, mescaline, psilocybin, ibogaine, etc. These are all really simple. If you do an acid-base extraction, boom, you have some kind of goopy crystalline liquid that gets you high. So that's pretty simple. Then finally, we get the complex plant extracts. This requires a bit more chemistry. These are things like LSD, MDMA, etc. Then Alexander Shulgin comes onto the screen, and we have designer drugs, which open up this entire world of possibilities. Things like 2CB, thorium-DMT, 5-MAP-B, bromo dragonfly, which I love, and methcathinone, methylone, a bunch of the cathinones. But where do we go from there? Polydrugs. So polydrugs started in the 90s as ecstasy, which was often MDA mixed with an amphetamine. This was designed to recreate the effects of MDMA, but since MDMA is sometimes hard to come by, people make do with what they had and often produce really great product. As time went on, ecstasy became, well, polydrug ecstasy became kind of a product of compromise. So people might put something that's not as good as MDA or not as good as MDMA, but it's the best they had. They wanted to make some money selling drugs, and so that's what they did. That's true. So in the future, I feel like, so there's two drugs. One's called Poly and one's called Wali, which are polydrugs, but they are designed to be upgrades, not compromises by any means, but an upgrade. So Poly is designed as an upgrade to MDMA. It's a blend of 3 drugs that's designed to have synergistic effects together. Typically, it's cleaner, clearer, smoother, deeper, with much fewer side effects, little to no come down, and no hangover. There's been about 1,300 trials over the last 4 or 5 years, and in the last 500 or so trials, it's really been ironed out, and it's a very smooth, reliably good experience. Wali, on the other hand, was designed as a deep shamanic medicine. It's a blend of 5 drugs featuring 2 dissociatives. It lasts about 10 or 12 hours. It often makes people immobile. It often makes people purge. It is experientially comparable to a cross between ibogaine, 5-MeO-DMT, and MDMA. And there's been about 150 or so people take it so far in the last 2 years. So I'm going to go through some brief experience reports of these drugs just to kind of give you a feel of how they've been received. So one particular account, which the person who wrote this might be in the room, I was able to experience the profound healing qualities of Poly as I took it in a small group setting this past week. Once ingested, its effect was smooth and regular. I was able to move past certain blocks and see patterns rather easily. I was at ease in my body, dancing and finding my own rhythm, while also able to connect beautifully with others. There was an expansion beyond my personal self, and it just felt like more of my loving, true nature was able to be expressed. A deep, deep gratitude for my life, what I am involved in and with, and all of life. And it goes on. So more singular reports. Someone said, it's the single greatest substance I've ever put in my body. It was the most connected I've ever felt to another human being. It unlocked my powers as a healer. Suddenly I'm able to do really powerful energy work with my hands. It allowed me to drop my sexual shame, come out as who I am, and open my heart. And one person in particular said, we've been finding that the influence of Poly in our lives has been bringing so much to the surface. Our relationship has been changing and evolving in ways we would have never expected. So these are a few experience reports from Poly. Then there is Wali. So Wali has had tremendous effects on a number of people, most notably this one person who did it with a facilitator, and he was in the midst of a terrible depression on antidepressants. He said, I finally feel like me again. After 46 years on this planet, I finally feel like I belong in this life and in this skin. I finally get it. You have no idea what it's been like. After 9 months, he's still off antidepressants, never been happier, and regards it as the most important night of his life. and he has remained transformed. Other reports say it was like 10 hours of pure enlightenment. It feels like an ascended state. It's better than Toad, says a Toad shaman. It's my peak psychedelic experience, says a 100+ strip ayahuascarian. It brought me out of what felt like a hopeless depression in only the first few hours, and then gave me one of the most profoundly deep healing experiences of my life, 6 to 7 hours in. And I've experienced 3 births so far: my birth, the birth of my child, and this. So that's it in a nutshell. And that's great and everything. Those already exist. But what is next? If that's possible with polydrugs, using what's essentially pseudoscience, just kind of combining things that seem like they would go well together without any real scientific backing, then what's really possible? Introducing Dr. Thomas Ray. He has kind of mapped out what is possible. He's challenged the predominant paradigm of psychedelic science, the misconception around serotonin 2. There's this idea that serotonin